when COVID came, I mean, it brought a global focus on mental health issues. Okay, and the scale of awareness around it became very large, and for each and everybody. Why? Because we all felt being threatened financially, insecure, health, didn't know what was going to happen. And there has been always since then a growing concern and a growing demand to see services or to address mental health mainly from person-centered, recovery-oriented, but as well right-based approaches. So coming to the right-based approaches, I just want to use this platform and of course your capacities and your knowledge and experience, where we stand in India when it comes to rights perspective on of people with mental illness. I want to identify this is for people who are diagnosed with mental illness. What are the rights that protects them?
Right. So I think you brought up a very interesting point. Obviously, the focus on mental health or mental well-being, has sort of magnified in the last few years. And if you look at India, India's always had as with most of its laws, there's been a fairly colonial approach to them. And if you look at, even our Mental Health Care Act, while we have a fairly, I would say, not a very dated act. I think it's from 2017, and the act also provides obviously certain rights, which obviously go far beyond I think the earlier Mental Health Act. Uh, and on paper, there is of course the right to access mental health care and treatment, right to live in a community, right to protection from inhuman treatment, etc. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel somewhere, and of course I will sort of take a pause because I know your question was around what rights do people have. But I think it's one thing to have those rights, and one thing probably to be able to reinforce, to be able to enjoy those rights. So, as you know, uh, even aside of those rights, there are overall, the Constitution promises rights of right to
Mm-hmm.
life, and which includes which courts have held, which includes the right to have a dignified life, right? So, right
Mm-hmm.
to life is not a
Yep.
life at any cost, um, and of course, other than mental health, or people who are afflicted with mental illnesses, there are we have seen over the past many years of our since the constitution has come into play that people who are on the fringes of society, it doesn't, and it actually doesn't mean a minority. It could be a large proportion of people, but people who are not in power or who are seen
Mm-hmm.
as weaker have always struggled to enforce these rights. So I would say that when we do read out these rights and when we look at those rights, sometimes they're fairly theoretical, and it's very difficult when you step into let's just say a practical situation. If you're going through if you go through a mental breakdown and go to hospital, I mean, hospital would probably be more humane. But if you go to a police station, or if you're in a public place, or even in a workplace, I think it's extremely. I think that stigma is very high. People tend to look down upon you, and I think unfortunately uh, things have not really progressed in India. So I'll take a quick pause because I know you may have we may want to segue from that.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for listing all that.